It's Keystone Youth Live with Will Mitchell and Chris Cox.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Keystone Youth Live. I am so excited for this one. I'm Will Mitchell.
And I'm Chris Cox. Tonight's fun fact: in a fight, a grilled cheese sandwich would lose to a taco.
Dude, that is so true.
It is.
I love that.
It is. Tacos are used to being broken open so they can use the pieces of themselves as weapons, whereas a grilled cheese
Super
just
helpful.
gets pulled
Super
apart.
helpful. I had the most delicious grilled cheese today, but that's beside the point. Do you know, today's an exciting day. Do you know why, Chris?
It's Wednesday.
Yes, best day of the week.
Yep.
But also, it's an exciting day for another reason. Do you know what that might be?
It's my birthday. Thank you for remembering.
It's not your
It's not my
birthday. I forgot that weeks
birthday.
ago.
Yep, that's fair. What is
April
exciting?
17th, right?
You nailed it. All right. Forget that. You don't get to know personal details about my life, Internet. Will, what is exciting about today?
Today is exciting because today, Governor Reynolds came on and she announced that starting May 15th, I can get a haircut.
I am so glad that you can get that.
It's so bad.
Get that weed whacked.
Have you looked at that? Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I got a whole, like, if I do too much with my hair, I get this whole, like, Ace Ventura thing
Yes.
going around. It's not great.
So, guys, I'm really excited because not only is it haircuts, but I was told my gym is going to be opening back up and stuff is starting. You can start to eat at restaurants again.
You can start ignoring your gym membership that you pay for. I can't wait to do that
Hey,
again.
that's going to be awesome.
It's wonderful.
And it means it's one step closer to us being able to see you in person. And, man, as much fun as Chris and I have had here on the stage.
Which is a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
TBH, as the children say.
But, man, we miss you, and we absolutely can't wait to see you. So stay tuned. There will be more details coming over the next couple weeks in terms of, like, what the summer's going to look like. Nothing's going to change in the next couple weeks. We've got tonight and then 2 more weeks until the end of May. And then so we're going to be broadcasting live at least through then.
Yeah.
So we want you to know that, though, that we are inching closer towards seeing you in person again.
Can't wait. Can't come soon enough.
Yeah. You know, here's something I've learned, though.
What have you learned, Will?
I've learned something very valuable during this quarantine time. Number one, that the snacks to days ratio has changed dramatically in my house.
Yeah, same number of days. However, snacks are slowly dwindling.
Yeah, we run out of snacks much more quickly.
Yes.
So it used to be
Quicklier.
that because we were gone all the time, we could buy something. And I don't know if you guys are like this, but now you open a box of any kind of snack food, and you're home all day, and so you just eat it all.
Yeah.
And frankly, it got me thinking a lot about snacks. And so
Welcome to my life. Just constantly thinking about snacking.
I'm thinking so much about snacks. And I decided to do something a little bit different on tonight's show. We're not
noticed.
going to play a game.
No,
We're not going to play a game because
All
do you
right.
know why we're not going to play a game, Chris?
because life is already a game.
Because
By
you always
Parker
win and I
Brothers.
hate losing.
Also that.
So in this one, there will be no losers because
Okay.
tonight is not a game. It's a public service announcement.
Ooh, a
Yes.
PSA.
PSA, because one of the things I've learned about snacks is there are so many options.
How many options?
1,037,000,000.
That is a specific and large amount.
Probably not true, but neither is anything else on the internet. So,
Facts.
so many options, and one of my favorite things is watching people combine snacks.
Yeah.
So it used to be that you had to choose between M&Ms
Right.
and pretzels,
Right.
but now you can get pretzel M&Ms.
Which is crazy. I'm waiting for an M&M pretzel, which is a pretzel made out of M&Ms.
I would actually like that a lot better.
Yeah.
And sometimes those things end up being absolutely delicious.
Just wonderful.
And so I started to think, could we take some of our favorite snacks, some of the world's most beloved snacks, and combine them for maximum snacking efficiency?
The greatest hits for your lips.
So tonight, we're going to do a little thing we're going to call Will It Snack? Will It Snack?
Will it snack? We don't
So,
have a graphic for this,
We don't.
so don't wait for it.
There's no graphic because we are low-tech people and living in a low-tech world.
Low tech, but high taste.
Yes, high taste. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask, will it snack? And we're going to try to take some of our favorite snacks, which are laid out in front of us, and combine them to see if they would make a good snack mashup.
And if they do, we immediately will claim all rights to them on this episode. So don't try and patent this or use any of these great
We're going to make
snacks.
probably millions.
So much for the Lord.
So should we tell them what?
1,037,000,000. One for every kind of snack.
It's all going to the unfinished campaign.
Yes.
Which, speaking of which,
will be finished
yeah, there we go.
with that $1 billion.
So here we go. We have 8 different snacks in front of us. Mm-hmm. Here are all the names of all the snacks. We're going to draw 2 at random. We're going to eat them together as one snack.
Okay.
And we have to decide,
Does it snack?
will it snack? You ready?
Yeah, I'm
All
so
right.
ready.
Should we tell them what's in the snack cups? I don't think we should.
No, let's just
it'll be a
reveal it as we
mystery.
go along. Yeah.
It'll be a mystery. Let's dig down deep. I'll pick one, and then you pick one.
Okay, only fair.
Yeah. We're all about fairness.
Big money. All right.
All right, here you go. Swedish fish
And Twix.
and a Twix.
Not the worst combo.
So I got a Twix right here
Nice and multicultural.
and a Swedish fish. What's your prediction?
Oh, we only got like a half Twix. Little.
It's a
little
baby
nug.
personal Twix. So I'm thinking 1 Swedish fish to 1 Twix is the right ratio.
I'm thinking of sandwiching it.
Ooh.
Honestly.
All right. I think that's going to overdo it on the fish.
I think it's a fish witch, but
a fish witch. I like that.
high in omega 3s.
And great for Lent.
Yes.
So
and boy, has this felt relentless.
Aw, terrible. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to need some water. It's not as bad as I thought it might be.
If you've ever had like those chocolate covered cherries, like the liqueur kind of cherry kind of things, it's similar to that. It definitely is like a step above cherry Robitussin or something like that. Like on the NyQuil scale, this is definitely top flavor right there. I'm going to finish it, honestly.
So it's not bad. I'm not going to probably eat the rest of it.
I'm pretty good.
I thought you wanted mine. I was
No.
like, no, it's Corona. You can't have leftovers. All right. Well, so what do you think? Will it snack?
I think it is definitely snackable. Yeah. I think it'll snack. I think it would need to be smaller.
I'll go with it. I think it's small. Bite size.
I think you would get the right volume.
Swedish Twix.
Yeah, it's finding
right.
the right ratio of Swedish fish to Twix is going to be the big thing.
Give us another one. Cheetos.
And Southwest by West.
I think it's
Just
M&Ms.
kidding, it's M&M's upside down.
So Cheetos and M&Ms.
Ooh.
I don't know. My prediction on this one is I think you're going to be okay because you're going to have the sweet and the salty.
Right. It's a natural compliment.
Maybe that was the issue before was, I dropped my Cheeto. There we go. It was all sweet.
I think 2 of these little dudes and 1 M&M's a
M&Ms.
good
2 M&Ms to a Cheeto is what I'm thinking.
I'm 2 Cheetos to an M&M.
All right, let's try
So let's find out.
All right.
Yeah?
I really like that.
Yeah.
It has kind of a,
It has an oaky aftertaste.
it kind of reminds me of like an M&M trail mix.
A little bit. Yeah. Fun fact, a lot of packing peanuts are made with like corn oil and stuff like that, which means you actually are basically already eating like a Cheeto.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not eat your packing peanuts.
Don't. No, because if you need to send the item back,
We
you
will
don't want
not
it
be
to break.
liable or responsible for any ideas
No,
you
we
get
are
from
not.
Chris.
No. Well, I might be, but
Send your bill to Chris Cox.
yes. CO Chris Cox, 123 Fake Street, Nowhere, Iowa.
Let's keep the show on the road.
Let's do it.
What else are we going to do? All right. I'm going to dig deep. I want something good. Oh, yeah. This will go with anything.
Even salt and vinegar?
I think
chips?
so. Here, I actually drew 2.
That
Here we
actually
go.
could have been really good with the Swedish fish.
How about salt and vinegar, and I'll raise you a queso.
Ooh, salt, vinegar, and queso.
So salt and vinegar and
Okay.
queso.
And queso emergency.
Yeah.
Is it these main chips here?
So salt and vinegar are the chips. That's a very strong flavor of a chip. Like when I think of a queso, I kind of want a generic chip.
Yeah.
So that I can enjoy the queso.
You don't want something that's going to overwhelm the palate.
And to make it even better, the queso is room temperature.
Oh, my favorite kind. Nice and congealed.
I love it. In honor of last week's
Where is
Cinco
this
de Mayo
queso
episode.
from?
Tostitos?
Oh.
It's a place in Mexico, I think.
Apparently. I think that's over.
It's very,
in,
very generic.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Ready? Down the hatch. Yeah.
Oh, it'll snack.
It snacks.
Because all you taste is the queso, and I love the queso.
Here's a question. Triangular chips or circle?
Triangular, definitely.
Why?
Authenticity, mostly. Mm-hmm. When I eat the circular ones, I feel like, man, these are too perfect.
Yeah.
When I eat the triangular ones, I'm like, these are from the real chip place. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's just an authenticity to it.
I was hoping you were going to be like, it represents the Trinity because there's
Yes.
like the triangle there, but you blew that. Triangles are also the strongest shape available in nature. Fun fact.
Really? And,
Yeah, yeah.
And what are the in chip plants?
In like everywhere.
All right.
Yeah. All
We
right.
have a couple more things we haven't touched
Yeah,
yet.
let's try. Let's see what else we can get.
All right.
And then we might have to reload. And
Here we go.
I got popcorn.
And
That would have been really good with the salt and vinegar.
Mike and Ike's.
Okay.
Popcorn and Mike and Ike's. I think
Honestly,
we can do that.
That's kind of already something I got going on.
So honestly, popcorn, I love. I don't. Are you one of these people who mixes your? You go to the theater, you buy popcorn, and
just
you buy
dump that
theater
bad
candy.
boy in. Yeah.
You just do a little bit of everything.
All right. It's all loaded in my mouth. So let me know. I'll take a bite.
All right. Nobody wants to hear you chew that. Oh yeah, that's like the real deal.
It reminds me of months ago when we could actually go and do things like see movies.
It makes me want to go to a movie.
Yes, which drive-ins will be opening as part of Reynolds.
I have a
Proclamation.
recommendation. I don't know if I can do this. Here's a rec. The Dude Perfect documentary on YouTube. Have you seen it?
It's on my list because one of my buddies works for Dude Perfect.
Super, super fun. They're all believers, and they're very like open about their faith, but they're not preachy about it.
Yeah.
And the
They
stuff
understand
do
that
is
no dude
absolutely
is
incredible.
perfect. Only Jesus is.
They follow the real dude who's
it.
perfect.
Yep.
I got you. All right.
Trick shot of salvation right there. That was what the cross was.
I think we've tried
I think we have.
pretty much everything.
Now we got to maybe do like freestyle it. Choose two.
All right.
Real
so
quick.
here's a question: was there anything that wouldn't snack?
That we tried. I don't think anything we tried couldn't snack.
My least favorite was the Swedish fish and the Twix.
I think that was a good low warm up. I definitely needed a palate cleanse after that, like about a good sorbet or something to really kind of help get rid of the flavors. I think my prediction is that M&M's and queso would not snack, followed by Mike and Ike's and queso.
I was gonna say I think we need to try Mike and Ike's and queso.
I think you can try that.
All right.
I
You have to
think
try
lead
the
by
M&Ms.
example.
They were your idea.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hey, they were your idea.
that's fair.
The
I
Mike
don't
and
know
Ike's-
how I can.
So the Mike and Ike's are easier to dip. So, oh man, I got queso on my fingers.
Oh darn. Too bad you can't lick it off your fingers. It's illegal.
Oh man, that's weird.
Yeah, I think
It's not bad.
the fruit flavor could work with cheese because you see that pairing a lot.
Try it. It's actually not bad. It's just
Charcuterie
different.
and all that. I'm gonna give you like 5 more seconds to see if you break and you're trying to like trick me into eating it and it's terrible.
No, I think I'll go with it. Actually, like
Okay.
it was probably the best surprise I've had all night.
Lime and queso.
I put lime on my tacos.
The thing with the Mike and Ike's is they're very saturated flavor. Like it's a lot and it's really sweet. If it was more subdued, it would actually go really well with the queso.
I think fruit and queso could actually go really well together.
Yep.
Maybe that'll be another episode. But for right now, here's what you need to know. What we learned from this is combine anything you want, it will snack. And if you have a new idea that you want to try, we're going to ask you, will it snack? Post it on Instagram, tag Keystone Youth Ankeny.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're trying. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe it's amazing. Maybe you're going to be the next multi-millionaire
Wonka.
snack tycoon.
Yeah.
But for us, that's all the snacking we're going to do tonight because
Well,
now,
I'm definitely going to be doing more later.
well,
But
it's true. We have all these leftovers. We got to do something with those.
don't want to go to
But
waste.
for right now, I got to walk off all that exercise with a little walk to the couch.
This is the part where they go to the couch. They'll leave the desk and go sit down.
This is the part where they go to the couch. Let's watch them sit down.
Well, welcome to the couch. I am still recovering a little bit from my snack attack there. And I have with me a very special guest. Tonight, my guest is Caroline Kelly. Caroline leads the 7th grade girls group and is an absolute rock star when it comes to just everything that she does around here in the church and for the youth ministry. Caroline, welcome to the Keystone Youth Live Show. I got to open up by asking, which one of those things that we tried, are there any of those that you'd be like, yeah, I'm down for that?
I'm really interested about the Mike and Ike and the queso. I could see it.
That was the biggest surprise of the night, honestly. Like, if you learn nothing else, like nothing about Jesus, nothing about Caroline, if you learn nothing else, learn this. It's worth taking a risk when it comes to your snacks.
I agree.
So, Caroline, welcome to the Keystone Youth Live Show. Would you tell everybody who's watching, the girls who are in your group, they know you, they love you. Hopefully they're screaming out loud at home like, I can't believe she's on there. But for the rest of us who maybe don't know you quite as well, would you tell everybody who's watching just a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Caroline. I'm 20. I live in Ankeny, and I've been going to Keystone for almost 3 years now. Started in Salt Company and then started in youth about a year ago, and then I'm a special ed associate at Ashland Ridge Elementary. So
awesome. Well, we love having you serving here. We love what you've done in Salt Company. I know that's been a huge part of your life. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But you started with us at Reset 2019. You didn't know any of the students, and you're just like, sure, I'll jump in. Had a blast. And then I was like, hey, you should go to camp, and you jumped in and went to Colorado with us. And then never left. You've been around ever since, and it's been super, super fun. So you've kind of become, like over the last year, just a fixture around here. Have you always grown up in the church, or like what was your background prior to coming to Keystone?
So yeah, I actually grew up as a pastor's kid. My dad is a worship pastor, and so I've grown up going to Awanas and kids church and all of that, and youth group and everything like that. But I never really appreciated it when I went. So. Yeah.
So you grew up in the church, and what when you were in middle school and high school, did you play a lot of sports? What were you into?
Yeah. So I was actually a dancer and a gymnast since I was 5, and so that was like my passion. That was where all of my time and energy went into, and it like slowly but surely became my idol and just where my identity was found. I actually placed my faith in Jesus when I was 5 years old. Even though that was so young, I just knew Jesus loved me and that I wanted him. But honestly, I didn't really start living that out until I was 18. I went to church and everything, but I actually found out my junior year of high school that I had a labral tear on my right and left hip and I needed 2 surgeries, and I was done with dance and gymnastics. And so having that taken away from me, and then on top of that, just not choosing friends wisely, I got involved with friends that weren't living for the Lord, and so I was easily conformed to the world. And so when I had those surgeries, I just started hating going to church and youth group, and I became very closed off and very prideful and just never opened up about how depressed I really was because I just didn't know who I was. I neglected my faith, never read my Bible, and then, I just became a very sad person all the time, but I never reached out to any leaders when I was in youth group because I just was too afraid to reach out to someone, and I was just prideful and didn't want anyone to know that I was actually struggling.
Wow. So in church, still attending, but in your heart, inwardly, like just had started to dry up and even get embittered a little bit toward God after he took all these things away. And honestly, there's a lot of people watching right now that maybe they've had something like that taken away from them, and maybe it's because of an injury, or maybe it's because of even through the virus. I mean, we've got a lot of people who have lost their sports seasons. We're just waiting to see like what's going to happen, and maybe feeling that way a little bit. So to go from there to where you're at today, what was the turning point for you?
So after senior year that summer, like me and the friends that I shouldn't have been involved with, we obviously parted ways, and I just started opening up my Bible for the first time in a long time that summer, and my eyes were just open just to what I was missing out on, just that, it was really just God had never left my side. He never abandoned me. It was just I was selfish and rebellious, but my God, he's so faithful, and he was always there. And so I learned that actually through my community I found in Salt Company. That fall I started going, and I finally found that Christian community I never had. I never felt vulnerable or real with before. And sin confession and just realizing like that I'm not alone. And that Salt conference, during one of the worship songs, it just finally hit me. Like my faith is not a joke. I'm not going to doubt it anymore. From this point forward, I'm committing myself to the Lord and just giving him everything and just living open-handed, because we can trust our God because he's such a good God, and he just provided and brought this Christian community that I hadn't had, and obviously started going to Keystone as well. But yeah.
That's awesome. So thankful, because we had Rainier on last week, and Rainier talked about just the huge difference that Salt Company made in his life. And then to hear you sharing really the same thing, that, man, it was through the Salt Company that your religion and just like the going through the motions of it really came alive and became not just religion, but really a passion for a relationship with Jesus. And to see you passing that on to your students now is super, super cool. So we have several groups of people that are watching, and one of those groups of people is they're getting ready to graduate. They're done with high school. The end of the month, they're officially not high schoolers anymore. They're in that time period in their life where that was so pivotal for you. So as they're kind of thinking about, hey, I'm going to have independence, I'm going to have freedom, I'm going to do what I want to do, get involved in college, like what would you say to them? Because that's really the season of life that you've been in.
Well, especially seniors now more than ever, just such an unexpected last semester, and so many last you didn't get to experience the way you hoped, and so many expectations just not met. And I just feel for you so much, and I would just say don't neglect this community that you've had now, whether it's impacted you or not. Just know going into this new independence you have, like, use it for the glory of God and take advantage of what you have here at Salt Ankeny, because there's obviously a lot of places who don't have this community and small groups and people to walk alongside you in your faith.
That's awesome. And so for those who are interested in getting connected with Salt once they graduate, you guys reach out to Caroline. You can go to the Salt Ankeny website as well through our website, KeystoneLife.com. You can click on Salt if you want to get more information on how to get plugged into that once you graduate. They're taking their little break between semesters right now, but they'll be starting up with Summer Salt here very shortly. But I think, for every senior we have watching, there's a ton of middle school and younger high school students that are watching as well. And to the students who are kind of where you were at, they're still coasting in their faith. Maybe they're apathetic, they don't care, or maybe they're bitter and they're frustrated. What would you say to a younger Caroline?
I would say don't wait to start following Jesus and being passionate about him because you care what other people think, because just don't wait. Start now. And like, if you're struggling with something and you just don't know how to talk about it, or you feel so alone, there's a good chance you're not. I can guarantee you that, and that you can honestly reach out to one of your leaders. And even if they can't actually relate to you, we have a Father who can meet your every need. So yeah, I would say don't wait to follow Jesus because of your reputation, and also just start now and reach out to your leaders if you're struggling.
That's a great word, Caroline. Thank you so much for joining us. Anything else that you would want to leave with our students tonight? I
would say go floppy dodo birds. Reset. What was it, 2019?
2019. Yeah, that's right. Floppy dodo birds. They know what you mean. Yeah, we did that downtown scavenger hunt, and the floppy dodo birds were all over the place. Just crazy bunch of people. And so you girls know who you are. And Caroline, I hope that you know how loved and how appreciated you are by your group.
Thank you.
We think you're doing an awesome job, and so we're so thankful for the way that you've invested in helping our students here know and follow Jesus. And at the same time, you're investing in Salt Company, helping college students know and follow Jesus as well. And so thank you so much for being with us. Would you mind praying for us as we transition out of this and into the message tonight?
Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much just for who you are and just how powerful and faithful you are in my life and just all the lives here, God. And I just want to specifically lift up the seniors right now, God. It's really heavy on my heart, and I just don't know how I would have dealt with this my senior year, God. So I just pray that you would comfort them in this unknown, and just all this changed and just this was not ideal for their senior year at all, God. But I just pray for all the others who are just swaying in their faith right now and they just are doubting and maybe just they're in the wrong friend group, God, and they feel trapped. I pray that they know that you're the only escape, and I just pray that you would lead Chris tonight as he talks through Psalms. We love you. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Caroline.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, I believe we're back.
We are back.
Back from the couch. One thing, there's a lot of great stuff said there. Thank you again, Caroline, for your words, especially for how you lead the girls, the floppy dodo birds, all that goodness.
I wonder if they have like a sound they make.
I don't know.
I'm not sure what a floppy dodo bird sounds like.
If floppy dodo birds make a sound, make that sound and tag us, Keystone Youth Ankeny.
Yep, there you go. Tag us or text it into us on the remind
all
number
over your
as well.
social media so
we want to see
everyone
that
can
video.
see.
So
A lot of good stuff was said in that. One thing that was not said, go Bears, obviously. You can't reference Salt Ankeny, good old Stankeny, and not say go Bears. Daniel
Yeah.
Nemers will find you.
I'm thinking that she might be uninvited from Salt Company for not saying go
Well,
Bears.
it's a good thing it's on a break right now.
In which case, we'll have her undivided attention and you.
Yes.
We're good with that.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, no, Salt's great. I was part of Salt when I was at Iowa State and all that. So 100%. If you are a senior and you're graduating, find a way to stick in community, especially over summer. A lot of people say summer is dumber, but it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
It really doesn't have to be.
Man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I really, really appreciate Caroline and her leadership, and I think you can see that just coming through in the interview.
Yep.
We are right now. We're on week 2 of our going through the Psalms together, and so I hope you've been following along with us. I've been hearing great feedback from a lot of our connection groups that the Psalms that you're reading throughout the week are the ones that we're choosing from when it comes to, hey, what are we going to talk about here on Keystone Youth Live? And so tonight's Psalm is going to be one that you've either read already in your reading plan. Maybe you're like running a little bit ahead and you're like, hey, I'm on top of it. Or it's one that you'll be reading over the next couple of days. And so I think tonight is going to be super, super impactful and super important for you. And not only do we want you to hear it and to hear it, like Chris is going to be talking a lot tonight about how this has impacted him, but we also want to hear your thoughts. And maybe you noticed something in that psalm that was totally equally true, but something that we didn't even mention from the stage tonight. We'd love to hear you. Again, talk to us both either in the comments, go through what you've learned, or again, sharing what you're reading on our Keystone Youth Ankeny page as well. So we want this to be an interactive journey.
100%. Yep.
So, Chris, where are we going tonight?
We are heading deep, deep, deep into the first quarter of Psalms, and we are in Psalm 27. So before we really jump into it, picking one of the 5 Psalms, this was the one that stood out to me the most. I think it was also happened to be the last Psalm in that, so I'm glad it was the one that stood out the most, because if none of the other ones had,
you're running out of options.
Right, we would have done a lot more snacking. So I really liked this psalm. What jumped out to me was the idea, the things that resonated of seeing trials and all these different parts of it. It talks about, there's enemies here who are here to devour my flesh, not zombies, that's just a metaphor. There's all these different talk about trials and all this different stuff, but through it, we see God is constantly brought into the whole process. So it's all kind of filtered through that. Some contrasting ideas, like here's the world, here's what is bad about that, here's why that doesn't matter, almost kind of thing. It's a psalm of David, King David. A lot of them are. Many, many, many of them are. They're not sure exactly when this was written. Some people think it was maybe when Saul was mad at him and was chasing him and all that stuff. Other people think it was actually after he was king, after he was done fighting, and it's more of a retrospective. The thing is, it doesn't really matter, because regardless of when it was written, the themes that David brings out and kind of the lessons that we see that he has learned, the things that he's put his trust in, the thing about that is that that's just constant pretty much throughout all of David's life. It's really great. So before we really jump into too much more of me just talking about it, let's actually get into the meat of things. So if you have Psalm 27 pulled up on your phones, on your Bibles, whatever, We're going to get through that. It'll be up on the screen. We'll also circle back and kind of go through it verse by verse. So, Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? When evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. Though an army deploys against me, my heart will not be afraid. Though a war breaks out against me, I will still be confident. I have asked one thing from the Lord. It is what I desire, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of the Lord and seeking him in his temple. For he will conceal me in his shelter in the day of adversity. He will hide me under the cover of his tent. He will set me on a high rock. Then my head will be high, above my enemies around me. I will offer sacrifices in his tent with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Lord, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. My heart says this about you. Seek his face. Lord, I will seek your face. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord cares for me. Because of my adversaries, show me your way, Lord, and lead me on a level path. Do not give me over to the will of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, breathing violence. I am certain that I will see the Lord's goodness in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong, and let your heart be courageous. Wait for the Lord. A lot of good stuff in there. A lot of good imagery. So again, we know that David's kind of this warrior king. He had a lot of different battles in his life, so he understands the idea of enemies being camped around him and all that. So even just taking it from the top, we see these kind of contrasting pairs and patterns happening. So in verse 1, it says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? So we're seeing some really real and valid human emotions. We're seeing dread and we're seeing fear. All right? Like that's not something people are immune to today. We still have fear. We still have dread. Right now, there are people who have fear. They have dread about things. So real life has these real feelings, and real life has these real emotions. But this is contrasted with reality, which is the Lord is our light, and he is our salvation. He is the stronghold of our lives. So emotions, pain, all this stuff, they're real. If you feel it, it is real, but it isn't reality. In that these are things that you're experiencing, they're happening to you, but they aren't what define existence. They aren't what is inherently existent. And the only thing that is inherently existent is God. He is the creator. To create something, he cannot be created himself. So he is the point of all existence. He is the point of all reality. So when we say that your feelings are real, that pain is real, but it's not your reality, something else entirely. That's what God is. He is so far removed from the situation. But it doesn't discount the fact you might be feeling these things. And David is going to take us through this whole roller coaster of emotion. It's great. Verse 2, when evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. People are out for him. He's in the middle of trials, but it didn't stick. It's like a Teflon pan. Little bits of egg you'd think would get fried on there, and they don't. They just slide right off. So he's having these trials. He's having these circumstances, and it doesn't work out for the people coming against him, the people who aren't following God also. Verse 3, an army deploys against me. My heart will not be afraid. Another way of saying deploys against me in that time would be setting up camp. So even circling you around with camp. Imagine being surrounded on all sides by people who are trying to capture you or trying to kill you, who do not want what is best for you. And he's saying in the midst of that, I'm not going to be afraid. A war breaks out around me. There's a scuttle. There's violence. There's all this happening. I will still be confident. Yeah. But he's not being confident in himself. His confidence is placed in the Lord. Verse 4, I have asked one thing from the Lord. It is what I desire, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of the Lord, seeking him in his temple. So again, he's directing his vision. He's saying, this is what is sustaining me. This is my finish line. This is my goal in life. This is what I'm going after.
Yeah, I think that verse right there is actually the one that I would look at and I go, man, that verse for me is the one that makes me pause. And one of the questions we've been asking is, or the verse that stuck out to me the most from this psalm was, and then fill in the blank. And for me, it's this one. It's Psalm 27:4, because it begs the question for me of like, if I had to say the one thing that I want, this one thing I desire is fill in the blank, would it actually be that I want to dwell in the house of the Lord?
Right.
Especially in the middle of all of this chaos. To go, man, like I can think of a ton of things. Like enemies surrounding me. Like, I don't know, God, an Abrams tank would be amazing.
Yeah, maybe even my final meal, which is Swedish fish and Twix. You know, like
Dude,
maybe that's
I'm
what
going with the Mike and
desiring
Ike's
at
and the
moment.
queso,
I
man.
think
I'm sold on
you're
that
right
one.
on that. I think
So
you're right
anyway,
on that.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that for me, that's
Right.
where I stopped and I was like, oh my goodness.
That's a life verse right there.
Super, super convicting.
Yeah, 100%. It talks about how in verse 5, David's saying, God is going to conceal him in his shelter in the day of adversity. Not that the day of adversity isn't going to come. I think a lot of times we think that when we're Christians, if we're living good, moral, biblical lives where we're racking up tons of Jesus points, nothing can touch us, right? You know, a lot of people, and there's false gospel out there that'll say that. It'll say, if you do X, Y is going to happen. Yes. We do not have a transactional salvation.
Yes.
We do not have a genie in the bottle. We don't have a one-trick pony or anything like that. We don't get to put anything into the Jesus machine, turn it, and then out comes whatever our blessing is and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. And David is even saying, adversity is going to come. It's not going to be great. It's not going to look great. All this is going to be happening. But guess what? He will conceal me in his shelter. He will hide me under the cover of his tent. He will set me high on a rock. He will put me above everything. He will put me above all the turmoil and all the conflict and all this. Again, David knew conflict. He knew fighting. He knew all of this stuff. It even says, my heart says this about you, seek his face. Lord, I will seek your face. When it says seek your face, that was actually, I believe that's a command. That's a reference to Scripture where it's talking about walking with God. And he is choosing to do that. So he is choosing to walk with God. Again, it's how he's orienting his life in the chaos is what's really standing out about this. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Already showing God's been faithful through all this. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. This is one that is, in verse 10, maybe going to strike some of you a little bit differently. Even if my mother and father abandon me, the Lord cares for me. That's the case for some of you. That may be the case for some of you in the future. It may have been the case in the past. Some of you have been abandoned by fathers, by mothers, by other family, brothers, sisters, friends, and all that. And in this, what David is saying, and he had been abandoned. When he was even going up initially to fight Goliath, his own brothers were essentially abandoning him because they're like, hey, dude, don't say that you can take on this Philistine giant. You're a shepherd. You haven't been here. You don't know what you're talking about. Go home. You're stupid. You smell. And that is even initial abandonment in the onset of kind of this glory of him that he does, that God does through him. He'd been abandoned. He had been betrayed. He had Saul, who was his father-in-law, hunt him and shout mean, nasty things about him and want to kill him. He understood abandonment. There were times in his life where he felt like maybe God's face wasn't turned to him, where he couldn't see it, which isn't the case. God's face is always where it is. God's presence is always where it is. There's times we can't feel it, but God hasn't moved. I think there's times where maybe our sin keeps us from it, or there's just times it just happens, and that makes us be all the more confident that we should be seeking after him by not having it, by feeling that there's an absence. And that's even a stark reminder of that's what hell feels like, is total absence from God. And David's feeling that here, potentially. And he's so wanting to seek after God that he's saying, don't let this happen, God. I don't ever want to not be able to be in your presence, to be in your temple offering sacrifices and all this.
Yeah, that's really good. And just to even tie into Caroline's story a little bit ago, she described that moment when everything that was her identity was pulled away from her. All of the security and the confidence that she had in all of her athletics was just gone in an instant. And it was that scenario where it's like, oh, okay, like that stuff is all being stripped away. Now what's left?
Yeah,
and
what's going to remain of this? Yep. Verse 11, because of my adversaries, show me your way, Lord, and lead me on a level path. Because of my adversaries, again, he has adversaries. He's not bulletproof. Not everybody loves him. But because that's the thing, he understands even more the importance of being on the level path of the Lord, being on the path, walking with God. Do not give me over to the will of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, breathing violence. He's under threats. I am certain that I will see the Lord's goodness in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart be courageous. Wait for the Lord. In the land of the living just means now, here on earth. He's so certain that like God is so good that he feels it here on earth. He doesn't get caught up in the worries of life and the trials and all that. He's like, no, I'm going to see the Lord's goodness here, even on this side of eternity. Wait for the Lord, be strong, let your heart be courageous, wait for the Lord. That's even almost like a harken back to the commandment in Joshua, do not be afraid, be strong and courageous, which he as an Israelite would have understood that. So time and again through these verses, we're seeing these contrasting, conflicting kind of ideas of we have adversaries, doesn't matter, God's on my side. There's a day of adversity, I'm sheltered against it. So bad is happening, but God is still pulling him out of that. His goodness is still flowing through there. So again, there's going to be pain, there's going to be trial, there's going to be frustration, there's going to be all these things in life that's all real. But it isn't our reality. Our reality is something far beyond that. And we see that all throughout this psalm. And it's just such a pattern of David's life too. And he even, he wasn't a sinless guy. We find out in 1st and 2nd Samuel, he did some pretty nasty stuff. And there were times where he felt like God's face wasn't against him, but he still would then rededicate him to that, rededicate himself to God in all of that. So again, we have an ultimate reality. Our ultimate reality is eternal life, eternity with God in heaven, okay? We don't have pain. We don't have the mortal bodies. We don't have anything that is weighing us down now. But we only have that if we are in Christ Jesus. We only have salvation if we have accepted it. And it's a free gift, guys. It's nothing you have to do. Again, there's no quarter you put into the machine. There's nothing that we bring to the whole situation to be justified of it. It is a free gift, and it would have to be, because if we could earn it, we wouldn't need Jesus. But we do.
That's so good. I think one of the ways that I've heard that put, or one of the ideas has been around this, that your circumstances can describe your reality, right? They can describe what's going on around you, but they can't define your identity, right? Like, so in other words, like if you're in Christ, like David was, he had a personal relationship with God. And so everything going around him, that could describe his current circumstances, right? Those negative emotions could describe his current reality, but they couldn't actually define his identity.
Yeah.
And man, to go even to verse 8, where it says, my heart says this about you, seek his face, Lord, I will seek your face. And that's the decision that we actually get to make every single morning when we wake up. Every time we're faced with one of these situations, we go, all right, what am I going to seek? What am I going to desire? What am I going to pursue? And to go back to last week in Psalm 1, which we kind of said was kind of the introduction and like the really sets up all of the Psalms. Man, he said, those who are meditating day and night on the Lord, those are the ones who are going to, everything they do is going to prosper. Not that it's going to be easy.
No.
But that God is going to walk with them through every storm. And so for you guys, as you're watching this, as you're thinking about this, as you're talking about this in your groups, ask that question, like, what is defining your identity right now? What is your reality? And where are some areas where maybe you need to be redefining your life? Where are some areas where if you were to honestly answer, this one thing I've asked and this one thing I seek is fill in the blank, honestly, would it be that you want to live and dwell in the presence of God? Or is it something much more temporal, much less permanent?
Yeah. That's it. That's all my
That's
thoughts. I've dumped my entire brain out. It's all empty now.
I think that, like, honestly, like, this psalm has so many pieces on it that you could actually, you could pick 2 or 3 of these verses and stay there for days.
It's a crock-pot psalm. It's one of those that you just leave
Here's what
going.
we want you to do in your connection groups. In just a minute, you're going to go to your connection groups, and what we would love for you to do is to read this together as a group, and then pick one of those sections that really resonates with you. I mean, you could try to apply all of it. My guess is if your brain is as limited as mine, it's not all going to stick. So pick one of those verses, one of those statements that you go, this is the thing that I need to latch onto. And then the last question we've been asking you as you leave every single week or every single day as you read the Psalms is, all right, because of what I read, I am going to, and then fill in the blank. Like what is it that you need to do differently? And maybe, moving the whole desk, maybe for you, it's just that you need to go, all right, I'm going to recommit to seeking God's face. Maybe for the first time, you're going to, hey, I actually want to talk to somebody about beginning a personal relationship with Jesus. Man, you drop a message in your chat privately to your group leader, send them a text or send them a message to group me. I guarantee you tell them that, they will carve out as much time as you need, and they'll walk you through the gospel and how to begin a relationship with Jesus that will sustain you through all of these storms. So talk about that in your groups tonight. As you know by now, I think most of us, but if you're new with us, we want to make sure that you have these instructions. So you can go to keystonelife.com/youth, and you can click on Find My Groups. There we go. We do ask that you use your real name and your grade so that we know that you're in the right group and we don't just let a bunch of the wrong people in the wrong groups. And we do ask that you be respectful and kind for other people. We want to have fun in these groups, but it's also a really good opportunity to talk about very real things that are going on in your life. Any other closing thoughts, Chris?
That's about it. Be sure to ask your parents about Mike and Ike's and Queso.
And let us know how it goes.
Yes.
Tag us at Keystone Youth Ankeny.
Yeah. Any of those original creations you have, send them our way.
Absolutely. Until next week, I'm Will.
I'm still Chris.
And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Goodbye.